Hey, everybody, welcome back to Sports the Nemo Way. And we're here with an episode about James Harden, who will be defended by none other than Drew and Wade today, the 6'5", 220-pound shooting guard who has played for the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Houston Rockets, and now the Brooklyn Nets. I almost said New Jersey right there. My bad. Still have it. And he is a 9-time All Star, a 7-time All NBA. He was also MVP, Six Man of the Year award winner with career averages of 25, 5, and 6 on 44% shooting. So, Drew, Wade, I don't know which one of you want to go first, but who wants to get this ball rolling?
I'll go first and just talk a little bit, not too much, just a little bit to say in my opening statement. I think James Harden. I know everyone. We're just going to get this out of the way right now. Everyone, he travels. Honestly, even though he's on my list, I know he travels.
I think he's an elite scorer. Other than that,
He's got his MVP, and some people on this list do not have. I'll say that he's got that. This is more recently. It's been helping me and Wade out. The stuff he's doing with the Brooklyn Nets. He's a whole different player. No one saw this coming. We all saw he was fat in Houston and all this stuff. Like, oh, he's off, not awful, but like he's just tanking with the Rockets. And he gets traded, and he's coming out doing these triple doubles. He's like 15 points, 15 assists, 15 rebounds a night, and he's just being more of a team player, not circled around him. And with Kyrie, he's going off doing whatever. Katie's got a contusion now, and all this other stuff. I think Harden's actually hurt right now, but I think he's doing more for the team success more than what his own glory right now, I think.
you go now, Wade.
Good?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to do a first here. We're going to do a player comparison. So grab your dry erase boards, children. Daddy's taking you to school.
Do I get to ride in the back seat, Daddy?
If you want.
Dry erase board ready.
All right. I'm gonna give you 9 different things to compare. So write small. All right. Well, I'll explain a little detail what I did to make it a fair comparison, since one's a current player and one recently retired.
Well, are we comparing just 2 players or more than 2?
Just 2 right now. Just 2. I took James Harden's 8 prime years, which was when he became a starter, when he got traded to Houston, up until last year. I didn't include this year because it's still going on, and that just complicated things. So I took pretty much his 8 prime years and added up a bunch of stuff and did a bunch of research on that. And then I took the first 8 prime years of Allen Iverson and obviously did all the research and math for that good stuff. And it came out quite intriguing. So I figured we'll just do the first player comparison. So you can write down Harden and AI, and I'll give you the categories when you are ready.
I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm
Everybody ready?
Yeah.
All right. First one. In the 8 prime year stretch, AI's points per game was 29.6. James Harden was also 29.6.
That's actually very interesting.
Kind of weird,
exactly
yeah.
the same.
It was. I literally did all the math myself just to double check. Rebounds. Allen Iverson is 3.9. James Harden is exactly 6. Assists. Allen Iverson is 5.9. James Harden is 7.6. Field goal percentage. AI is 41%. James Harden is 44. 3-point percentage. AI is 30%. James Harden is 36%. Everybody caught up? Did I get too far ahead? We good?
I'm good.
Okay. Free throw percentage. AI is 78%.
James Harden is 86%. This is where it gets interesting. Usage rate, Allen Iverson 34.9. James Harden is 33.4.
I'm sorry. What was Harden's?
33.4. Then triple doubles, Allen Iverson, 1.
James Harden, 46.
Holy shit.
Playoff wins, Allen Iverson, 29. James Harden, 42. And that wraps up the stats. Well, did you have something to say?
Nope, I was just
Oh,
counting the categories.
my
I'm
bad.
sure that math is right.
Well, there you go. I think it's 9.
Yep,
Hopefully, after all the math I did, I didn't fuck up that one. So as you can see, James Harden wins everything but points, where they're tied. And Allen Iverson actually has a higher usage rate, which is shocking because James Harden's known for having astronomical usage rates. So I found all that very interesting. And Allen Iverson is on all of your all's lists, I believe.
He is. Yeah.
That was my first part, just a quick comparison, as it's been referenced. I'm not huge on Allen Iverson. They're both, just to add on just a little bit more, other random facts. They both are terrible at defense. I lost my train of thought. It's been said on this podcast in previous episodes that people sometimes don't like to play with James Harden. Well, Allen Iverson struggled to play with Jerry Stackhouse, Chris Webber, and Carmelo Anthony. James Harden hasn't really been in any legal trouble, while Allen Iverson has been in legal trouble before, during, and after his NBA career. He's famous for skipping practices, not getting along with coaches, teams getting better after he leaves, aka the Nuggets. They trade him for Chauncey Billups and then make it 2 rounds farther in the playoffs the next year. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. Obviously, I picked on one player, but he was on everyone's list, so I went with that.
Very well.
Well, Wade, your argument went completely different than I expected it to. So kudos to you, buddy. Well, Ray, do you want to kick off the other side of this argument and go the other way?
Yeah. I just want to know why it's taken Harden so long to conform to what he should have been. How long has he been in the league?
11 years, I think.
Yeah. Like
Why is it taking him 11 years to, wake the hell up and get his shit together? I don't understand. Like his usage rate was what, 33.4?
Yes.
I don't understand the ego in the game. The last 10 years, and now all of a sudden, he just being a team player. Did he finally realize that he's not the total master of control anymore, and he needs a team to actually win a championship? Or I just don't understand.
Well, here's, if you're done.
Yeah, go ahead.
My rebuttal to that is, almost no one liked what he did the past, 3-4 years in Houston, where it's just dribble, 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 isolation, whatever. But he does get blamed for doing what he was told to do. That is what Mike D'Antoni told him to do, and he did it. And before D'Antoni was there, he was more of a team player. He put up
lesser stats, lesser usage rate, but was still very good, still a good passer, still scored like 25, 26 a game. And it was 6th man of the year in OKC, which wasn't a part of my comparison, but he played that role very well. And now with Brooklyn, he's obviously transformed. But yes, I think a large part of what's the word I'm looking for? The way he played in Houston, I think, affected some of their playoff runs.
But at the same time, they also made a lot of deep playoff runs, and if it wasn't for the famous Chris Paul pulled hamstring, they beat one of the most stacked teams in NBA history and are probably the favorites in the finals against the Cavaliers, even with him playing that way.
As somebody that was rooting so hard for that Rockets team to beat that Warriors team, even though I don't like James Harden, and I was so upset when Chris Paul pulled his hammy, because Chris Paul was killing the Warriors.
He was.
When that happened. Yeah. The part that got me the most is James Harden probably could have had just as much of an impact on those next 2 games if he would have just stayed home. He was non he was a huge negative on the floor the next two games. Instead of being the superstar that he's supposed to be and trying to carry his team. I'm not saying that he should have won those games because those worst teams were stacked, but he could have at least tried to win those games, not just going out there and laying an egg. That was the part that it was really hard for me to swallow with that exact instance anyway.
Yeah, I think a large part with James Harden is due to the way Mike D'Antoni had the team be run, which was him being extremely ball dominant and extremely high usage rate, which we've all talked about before. I mean, you could just tell, and commentators talk about it. I mean, it's been all over ESPN and other channels. He looks like he has no energy most time when they make it to the playoffs. So he has some of these games where he's literally just looks god awful because he's been doing. Well, he's very durable, so he almost plays the full season, and he is doing everything for the team. And then he has these moments in the playoffs where he's just looks like there's nothing there, and he's struggling to shoot. He has no legs underneath him. Obviously, it affects his defense, which wasn't great to begin with. And yeah, so
Well, I agree with you. And as much as I dislike James Harden, the one thing I will give the guy, even though he's technically hurt right now, he has been insanely durable over his career, which is
yes.
something to say in this day and age where everybody constantly sits out games and is, has a hangnail and is like, I got to sit out tonight. Harden plays 80 games a year a lot. Or maybe I'm not, I'm just saying 80. He plays majority of the season every single year. Mm-hmm. Right now, he's got a tweaked hammy. He's supposed to be out 10 days and be reevaluated. They said that's not serious. Nash just said yesterday or the day before that he's progressing well and should be back on time. So I don't doubt that he'll be back. But it's actually rare for Harden to miss time for stuff like this because Harden has been insanely durable. Well, Uncle Doug, do you want to come at these fools?
Well, I have to say that what's happened in Brooklyn has really opened my eyes to James Harden.
It's easy to. I agree.
Had he been doing that all along, I don't think there's any doubt he would have been on my list. I think part of, and again, I tend to compare these guys to the last guy on my list. So I looked at him next to Pistol Pete, and he was the last shooting guard that I had. Truthfully, Harden's numbers are a little better for his career, and so I got to think about that, why I made that decision. I did. Part of it was an old guy thing, because I tried to start that conversation some. And part of it was some of the things we've discussed about the playoffs that I've watched Harden play so much in the playoffs and struggle that I think it maybe clouded some of my thinking or what I was thinking at the time because I was throwing that in there too. I got to say, Wade makes an excellent case. I had not compared the AI thing over those 8 seasons, which makes it really interesting. This is one that when we get through with our top 50 and we discuss changes we might make, they've got a chance anyway.
I think I'm not trying to interrupt you, Uncle Doug.
No,
I think a lot of this could hinge on this season.
yeah, oh yeah. I mean, if he continues doing the unselfish play and things he's doing, now I still don't like the traveling. I'd like to see him change that too. But I got to respect the guy for the way he's changing his game to play in Brooklyn.
And I didn't see it coming. And
I didn't either.
People can go back and listen to our episode that we did after the James Harden trade where we all said there's not enough balls to go around.
Right.
These guys can't work together. And we were wrong.
Yeah, who saw this coming? I mean, if anybody, I thought, well, maybe KD will. Because KD's been known to be a little more understanding of teammates.
More passive, yeah.
Right, than Harden and Irving or Kyrie are. But I didn't expect this of Harden, so he's really opened my eyes. So good case, guys.
Well, I will say, before I go into my argument that I have over here, to touch on the AI Harden thing, that was a very good comparison, Wade. I also think that AI. AI size plays a lot into the way he's viewed. Since he was so tiny, and we've never really seen somebody at that size do the things he was able to do. And another guy that was insanely durable, and he weighed like 160 pounds. Um, I think people view him very fondly because of that. This guy that was 5'10", 5'11", 6 foot, whatever he was, out here winning scoring titles. And
Oh, it was like a people can relate to it because he's our height.
Yeah,
and he's doing that. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. The other thing, I've actually been talking to a few guys about this. Big E being one of them, but shout out to Big E. There's a big cultural thing with AI. When the dress code thing came up,
yeah,
and and AI fought against that because of culture, and people really bought into that. So I think people have ties to AI emotionally that are maybe push him up a list further than maybe he should be. I do have him on my list, and I don't necessarily doubt my list, but your argument there was enlightening, and AI was able to do things in the playoffs that Harden hasn't. Not just the finals appearance, but Harden's numbers actually get worse in the playoffs. Iverson's do not. And I'm actually going to touch on that in a second. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I think part of AI is you look at kind of the underdog. Even though he was a great player, when he's in the NBA Finals or a lot of the times in the playoffs, his team was almost always the underdog. And it was like he was fighting to carry the team. Whereas with Harden, oftentimes in the playoffs, I mean, he played some really good teams too, but more was expected of those Rocket teams, and then they underachieved. And I think that probably fed into some of my thinking when I was going through my list.
I mean, Harden has played with multiple Hall of Famers. I mean, Chris Paul's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Dwight Howard's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Sure.
Russell Westbrook's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Right.
Can I hit on two things before we keep moving on?
Sure.
On the what you brought up with what he meant off the floor or culture with culture, I can't talk. I've had people say to me, "Oh, well, he meant so much to the game and all this other stuff," which I find ridiculous in my personal opinion. One, you had someone that was getting in trouble off the floor. I'm not going to go into all the details, but for random, ridiculous stuff. And I think really the only thing he changed was he got people to sag their pants, wear cornrows, and finger bands. And that's pretty much about the only culture change he set.
I'm not going to lie. When I was in junior high, I think everybody I knew had to have finger bands at that time. It was
Because
so
of AI.
huge. And a lot of them had the number 3 on them because they were AI's finger bands.
They always had 3 or AI on them. And I don't really think he... Now, like, okay, for a comparison, we can bring up multiple... Larry and Magic literally saved the NBA. That's a big off-the-court... I can't think right now. That's being relevant off the court. Or Jordan expanded the game. Or Steph Curry changed the way the game is played now. Not wearing a finger band. Like, come on. And I'll switch lanes here. And then we were talking about his playoff success, which he's had 3 or 4 pretty popular moments where he just fell apart. Or I think there was a moment with the Clippers where they set him down and then they made a run after he sat down to win the game. So he's had some bad moments, but he has had some really good playoff performances that no one cares about or just doesn't pay attention to. And his career playoff stats are close to his career regular season stats. The field goal percentage, I think, is a point off. The points per game is like 1.5 points down. I mean, it's not ginormous jumps.
I'm actually getting ready to go over that in a second, so we'll talk about it.
And then, as far as him losing, he lost to the best dynasty of this era like 3 times or 4 times. So he's running into the juggernaut of the NBA every single time. So he can't even get to the finals because he's playing against the stacked Golden State Warriors. Which, to even compare to AI, in his pretty much only season of playoff success, he ran into the Lakers dynasty and lost.
The best year of that one.
Yeah. So, I mean, But as far as team success, running into the best team of that generation every single year, I mean, that sucks. That's like Malone and Stockton running into Jordan.
This is true.
Stuff like that, but you can go ahead with your argument.
All right, so James Harden literally embodies what I hate about today's NBA. No defense, super high usage, fake fouls, flopping, dribbles the air out of the ball, and take the team out of the game. And that's James Harden in a nutshell. I'm going to say right off the bat, the current James Harden with the Nets doesn't fall into some of these categories. But 20 games does not make a career. Right, I guess technically he's played 34 games for the Nets. But his usage percentage is out of control, like we've talked about here previously. We've seen guys have usage seasons, but he's really a one of one when you look at this. There are 28 total seasons in NBA history that a player had a usage rate of 35 or higher. And wow, I totally can't follow what the hell I was writing here. I apologize. Yeah, 28 total seasons. And he has 3 of them. That's more than MJ, more than Russell Westbrook. There's only been 2 seasons in history of a usage rate of 40, and Harden has one of them. He has 3 of the top 14 usage rate seasons of all time. That's more than anyone. Westbrook has 2. Nobody else has more than 1. Harden's defense is such a joke that I really doubt either one of you are going to try and argue with me about it.
You can have it.
They literally have like 10 and 12 minute YouTube videos to him just standing and not even attempting to play defense. Play after play. And the most infuriating part of it is he's not some shrimp like AI or some guy that's not athletic like Steve Nash. He's fully capable of being a defender. I'm not saying he's going to be world class, but he's fully capable of being an average defender. He's athletic. He's strong. He's quick. All the things that make him a good scorer on the other end of the floor. So it's an effort thing. He also pisses me off, not just with his lack of defense, but his constantly faking fouls and flopping and grabbing players to manipulate the situation. And for whatever reason, they allow him to travel over and over again and don't call it, which bothers me. Those are just personal things. His postseason struggles are well documented, and we kind of discussed them a minute ago. But yes, his points per game dropped 2 in the playoffs. His assists drop 1. His field goal percentage drops 2. His 3-point percentage drops 3%. And he really disappears in big games consistently. And he had one of the worst finals appearances ever as a young player for the Thunder. While Westbrook and Durant actually balled out in that series, Harden was a huge detriment to the team. The other part of this is Harden also runs people off, not just other Hall of Famers like Howard and Paul and Westbrook, who's supposed to be his best friend in the NBA. But he's run off multiple coaches and consistently bashes them after they're gone. He's had multiple media spats with Kevin McHale after McHale was fired, the whole time being a prima donna and getting his way in Houston, and can't seem to make it work with other people that's it for me right now.
All right. Anyone else? You want to talk?
I was just going to say, to me, James Harden, who, excuse me, I think his legacy, in a large extent, is going to depend on what happens in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
I mean, because what you just said is the way we all viewed James Harden pretty much up until this Brooklyn thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we know the defense, we know the selfishness, and so on. But if he can truly change, the man has talent. He has a tremendous amount of talent. Now, granted, some of the offense was geared for him. The ball was always in his hands. He did what he wanted. But again, that's more modern NBA than we see in the past.
Oh yeah,
I agree. It is. There is a lot of modern NBA to it. He's not the only one in the NBA doing it. He just may be doing it the most. But I also refuse to believe that if James Harden told the coach or the GM or whoever it was, hey, I think CP3 should handle the ball a little more. I want to play off the ball a little more. They tell him no. Go keep doing what you're doing.
Right.
These stars get their way in NBA. Houston babied him for 6 years.
Well, and it seems like you mentioned, the other thing that annoys me is the fouls. He shoots a ton of fouls. And so many of them are, no way do I think they should be a foul. I don't know why he gets by with that. But if he can change that now in Brooklyn, the sky's the limit.
Well, let me ask this, though, before we get away from the Brooklyn thing. Because, not that we've touched on it much because we haven't covered these guys. Like, we haven't covered Curry or Durant or LeBron yet. We did cover Bosch, I guess, which would be the only one of these guys that we've covered with these super teams. We hold the super team titles against LeBron and Durant. Are we going to do it now in Brooklyn, too? Because if he's the one taking the back seat, then we're looking at him being the third fiddle on a championship team that has the most superstars of anybody in the league. So does this count like a regular championship? Because we don't count LeBron's and Durant's like regular championships.
Right. If you're not the best player on the championship team, it's something that we've said.
Well, not just the best player, but if you're on this loaded team that nobody can compete with.
Right. Like we were talking about Golden State and so on. Right, I agree. That's got to be taken into consideration.
I think it's all going to depend on how it happens.
Yeah, I'm not saying so much.
Yeah, I want to
that
see
they win, but how he plays.
I also don't really think he's third fiddle. I mean, he's the one running the offense. He's running everything, and he's still averaging like 26 a game and like 12 assists.
Well,
So
I mean,
I think he's more important than Kyrie at the moment.
maybe, but Durant's not even playing, so it's hard to tell exactly what they are because they never play together. They've played 2 games as a threesome.
One of them either hurt or going somewhere or doing something.
Kyrie.
What's up with Kyrie in the personal life?
Yeah, Kyrie's feelings are always hurt, and Durant is always hurt. I mean, Durant left the game again today.
Yeah,
He was the only one. He was the only one playing today, and he got a thigh contusion and had to leave. And only left 8 minutes into the game.
I'm looking forward to seeing them play in the playoffs. I want to see all 3 of them together and see what the dynamic is.
if they can make it out of the Eastern Conference.
Because the other part of this is right now they've been playing pretty much with 2 of them. Most of the time it's been Harden and Kyrie, which has worked out well, but they've been surrounding them with good defenders that when you play all 3 of them and Joe Harris, you don't have the defenders, and you can usually put one really good defender on the floor. So it's not that I'm saying that they can't play defense. We've seen Durant lock in on defense before. We've even seen Kyrie in the playoffs lock in and play good defense, not world class or anything, but solid defense. But when you're taking guys like Bruce Brown, who's been very important to them, Marcus Aldridge just retired, so that means DJ's back or DeAndre Jordan's back out on the floor. I guess what I'm saying is you're taking defenders off the floor. It'll be interesting if they ever get healthy to see what it looks like. I guess what I'm saying.
I wanted to hit on a couple of things real quick. That what you guys brought up. I mean, there's no denying that his usage rate, especially for a 3 or 4 year span, was astronomical. I also don't think people really realize how high other all-time great wing players' usage rate is either. People sit there. Sorry, excuse me. We're talking about Harden or Westbrook and this humongous usage rate. But I mean, Michael Jordan's is the greatest of all time, but no one cares about that. I mean, his usage rate's 33. Kobe's is ahead of his. Iverson's ahead of his. LeBron and D Wade are all ahead of his. T-Mac is 1 point away from James Harden's. I mean, this is all. George Gervin is less than a point away. I mean, this is all. Most great players, not most, but a lot of great players have really high usage rates. It's not just a James Harden, Russell Westbrook thing. And there's a lot of all-time greats that play a similar position that have higher usage rates.
I agree. And I was actually going to bring this up later in a different argument, but I guess we can hit on it now. It's different. Like, we're talking about Jordan. Jordan does have the highest usage rate ever. First off, Jordan won a bunch of championships, so he did something right. But second off, if you end a possession on an assist, it doesn't count towards your usage rate. So with him also, when Harden has the ball on, or when he was in Houston at least, had the ball on every single play, and he decided what happened on every single play all game long unless he left the game. He was either going to score, miss, turn the ball over, or assist on every single play. He was going to throw a lob to Capella, he was going to kick it out for a three, or he was going to try and score himself. And the three options you have when you try and score yourself: turnover, miss, or make. And that's where Westbrook and Harden have taken it to this crazy level, because not only do they have the two highest usage rate seasons ever, they also had double-digit assist seasons. So they literally are deciding everything.
But it's not really a negative thing to get an assist. So if
It's
it
not a
doesn't count
negative
against
thing.
your usage rate, you're still doing something positive, though.
Right, but that I'm just saying you have the ball even more. So if I have a usage rate of 32 and you have a usage rate of 32 and we both average 30 points a game and you average 10 assists a game and I average 2 assists a game, I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing that you have assists, but that also just means that you've handled the ball a ton more than me.
Or you're a better passer.
Maybe, but you could. I mean,
I just don't see getting assists in any way, shape, or form a negative thing.
I completely disagree with that. I think that's horseshit. There are selfish assisters. LeBron is a selfish assister. Harden and Westbrook have been selfish assisters for 5 or 6 years. It's I get an assist or nobody does.
So you'd rather have someone who can score but can't set anybody up?
That's what you
No, that's not
prefer?
what I said. I'm just saying I would rather have a guy that is willing to move the ball and not be the center of attention on every single play, and I can give the ball up and let somebody else do something. Or if I make the first pass to get to that guy, to get to the second pass, the hockey assist, I guess what you call it, I'm willing to make that instead of just keep dribbling until I can make the first pass to get an assist. Because that's what we see Harden and Westbrook do over and over and over again is unless I can get the assist or score, I'm not giving the ball up. And that's my biggest problem with the two of them is it comes across very selfish. And those are selfish assists. And assists aren't always, yes, assists lead to scores, so they're a positive on the scoreboard. I get that. But what I'm saying is there's a difference between looking to make yourself look good and just being a team player. Not all assists are created equal.
Okay, I'll throw something at you then.
Okay.
Since you're a T-Mac fan. Okay, we'll have Harden and T-Mac in a situation here. T-Mac, we'll say, is the less selfish player, which I'm guessing is probably your opinion. Am I wrong?
I don't know, maybe.
I mean, but he averages less assists, so maybe he's making more hockey passes or assists. Sorry, but T-Mac's also never made it out of the first round of the playoffs, so it didn't really benefit in his favor to not set up people more directly himself.
I mean, we covered this in the T-Mac episode. He didn't play with Hall of Famers. We just talked about Harden playing with 3 Hall of
Okay,
Famers.
him with Houston. Houston was good. Same exact franchise.
Yes, same exact franchise where he played with Yao Ming, but T Mac never played with the quality of team that we expected to make the finals. Nobody ever said, "Hey, this might be the best team in the league." That happened to Harden routinely, where they're like, "Hey, they're a title contender."
A title contender.
Nobody ever expected any team T Mac was on to be a title contender.
T-Mac, him and Yao Ming finished in the top 3 or 4 in the West multiple times, didn't they? James Harden was in a similar situation. They just lost to the Warriors.
I honestly don't know what Houston finished the season as.
I mean, they would win over 50 games quite a few times, I believe. So, I mean, they were really good.
They were good, and we covered this during the T-Mac episode. 3 of the 4 seasons they played together, one of them was on the IL when they went to the playoffs.
Well, I mean, being available is an important thing.
It is, but we're not discussing Yao Ming.
You think T-Mac didn't get hurt?
Oh, T-Mac did get hurt. He did.
Well, that's what we're addressing. It's not a knock on James Harden because he played more than Tracy McGrady.
Oh, I mean, yes, he. His career is not longer than Tracy McGrady at this point. This is the point where Tracy got hurt. 11 years. T-Mac's on your list, so
yeah, just a comparison.
but
he is lower than James Harden, I believe.
He might be. I don't know. But my thing is T-Mac was asked to do something because he had to. James Harden is doing it because he wants to.
Because he was told to. That's D'Antoni's system. Okay. He's doing what he's supposed to do. And he did it for like 3 or 4 years, not 11, which is we keep bringing up. Oh well, he plays this way.
He did that for a quarter of his career. It was a chunk of time, and he had success outside of that period of time, and put up great stats outside of those 3 or 4 years.
Well, this is a majority of his good seasons. I mean, he had 2 good seasons before he started this usage rate stuff. So, I mean, there are more of the high usage seasons than there's not.
I guess we're disagreeing on the usage rate part, on what is the astronomical part and what's not.
But, yeah.
I mean, he had what, the first 2 seasons in Houston that he played well and he wasn't dribbling the air out of the ball, and then it became the James Harden show.
No, I don't know off the top of my head, but I don't know how long was D'Antoni there. 4 or 5 years. He's been in Houston for 8.
I don't know how long D'Antoni's been there.
Yeah, I don't know.
But at the same time, we both know, everybody knows, that superstars run the NBA and can do whatever the fuck they want. Yeah. So just because D'Antoni told him to do something doesn't mean he has to do it, and doesn't mean that he wasn't for it or any of the case. And like I said earlier, if he just said, hey, I think I could play off ball a little bit because I'm supposed to be a shooter, and CP3, one of the greatest point guards of all time, could handle the ball a little bit instead of standing in the corner, I'm sure the team would have been like, oh, okay. Because James Harden said so and he gets his way. I mean, that's literally how it works in Houston.
Yeah, I mean, but they also had a lot of success. So, I mean, it's not like they were terrible.
No, they weren't.
But, I mean, I don't think we're going to agree, so we can move on. But another thing I wanted to bring up, I don't really think he runs people out of Houston, to be completely honest. Dwight Howard was hated before and by like 4 franchises after. So I'm not really sure
if Dwight was the only one, I would agree with you. But
him and Chris Paul didn't get along. I'll give you that one.
Yes, and Russell Westbrook said that James Harden's the reason he wanted out of Houston.
He said he didn't like playing in the Houston offense. Him and Harden didn't feud. They didn't get into any giant public fights or anything. And Russell Westbrook sucked ass in the playoffs when they needed him, and he couldn't play in their system. So they also freely got rid of him. So I don't think he's running everybody off.
He's got multiple coaches fired.
McHale and who?
Rick Adelman, one of the all-time winningest coaches in NBA history.
Yeah, but they also failed to get them over the hump. You don't think that factored in?
So did he.
Yeah, but they also ran into the Warriors. I mean,
Not at the beginning. The Warriors didn't exist when those guys were getting fired.
Yeah, but... Sorry, excuse me. But when was Adelman there?
The first 2 or 3 years of his tenure there.
Okay. I don't remember who all they played that long ago, to be completely honest. But
it'd probably be Clippers, Warriors early, Thunder with Durant, Westbrook, and all them still after he left. Who else?
Kobe's Lakers, probably.
Kobe's late Lakers, yeah.
Was that the same? That was before, wouldn't it have been?
I'm not sure. I'm just guessing.
It'd been late. It'd been one of the later years.
Yeah,
The
so
Mavericks. No. Yeah, probably the Mavericks. The Spurs.
Oh yeah, Spurs.
The
Big
Spurs
one.
would have. Yeah, probably the Spurs.
Yeah. You would have got there in what? 13.
Yeah, the Spurs were.
Yeah, still got the Spurs and the Thunder. And,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
the Clippers.
The Spurs still would have been good during that time.
yeah.
So the Clippers weren't an easy out with.
The Blazers were starting to get pretty good
Yeah,
before they had to reach.
DeMar
Well, I mean,
Aldridge.
they lost in the playoffs to the Blazers when Aldridge was still there. That one year, it was
Yeah,
Aldridge
when
and
Damian Lillard made
young
that
Damian
shot.
Lillard,
Yeah, Batum and Matthews and all those guys.
yeah.
I said the Gordon Hayward only played for the Jazz that one. They made that little bit of a run. They beat the Rockets because I remember me and Dad were rooting for the Jazz.
I can't remember who played with Hayward.
Hayward at the end played with Gobert.
I remember watching that.
Pretty sure we're missing someone.
Yeah, there was another good player. Millsap. Millsap played with him.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, who were the teams in that time period?
Well, the Spurs would have won it.
Oh, then the other years they would have lost to the Heat, and then the Warriors, and then the Thunder. So
Anyway, about coaching, I never heard anything about him doing anything to Rick Adelman. To be completely honest, the McHale thing, yeah. I never heard anything about the Adelman, but maybe I missed it.
I'm
But-
just saying, like, maybe it's a crazy, crazy coincidence, but I just find it hard to believe that we just keep naming guys and he had nothing to do with it when they clearly are coming out saying he was behind. He was making every decision for the franchise. They did everything he wanted to. They let him do whatever he wanted. Westbrook couldn't stand it because he wouldn't show up on time to things, and they catered to him so much, and he was too busy at the strip club instead of coming to practice, and all these things. Like Harden was able to do whatever he wanted and got his way in every turn in Houston. So it just seems like too big a coincidence for him to not have a hand in any of this.
No, I think he. Sorry, Ray.
I was just going to make a funny joke. It's a government conspiracy, and it's going to be a documentary later on. It's going to be James Harden behind the scenes. We're going to see all kinds of crazy stuff going on.
He does like the strip club.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
like
Oh,
I
yeah.
said,
That's
his
well
name-
documented.
I think I said this off air, but his name on his nickname on Basketball Reference is El Chapo.
There you go. No, but I mean, I agree with some of the players and like the McHale as a coach. Like, sorry, I agree like with some of those. I just don't think all of them was him. Like I said, there are entire franchises that hated having Dwight Howard on their roster, not just James Harden. The Russell Westbrook thing, I think, was a mutual. You don't fit our system. You were not the reason, but you were the worst player on our team in the playoffs. He wanted to leave. He wanted his own team again, so they agreed to ship him off. I'll give you Paul, McHale. Him and Paul still don't like each other, I don't think.
No, they don't. They actually Chris Paul just had an interview with who was it?
Rachel Nichols?
Maybe Rachel Nichols, and he wouldn't talk about James
Yeah.
Harden. So
Yeah.
No, and we discussed this in the the Dwight Howard episode. We know what Dwight Howard's reputation has been before and since, but this all appeared to come out of jealousy and ridiculousness, though. They were feeding Dwight Howard the ball in the first half of a deciding game. Dwight Howard is literally flat dominating the other team, scoring 25 in like the first quarter. And then Harden won't give him the ball the rest of the game. And then after the season, says it's Dwight or me.
That was a Blazers game, correct?
I think it was.
Yeah,
I
it
was
probably
watching
was.
that game.
And it almost reminded me, not more, part of it's because they play the same positions, not because they're the same players, I just mean, but it almost reminded me of the Kobe Shaq stuff, where it was like, you're getting too many touches. Now I need my touches. Now I'm pouting. Now I'm not. Now I don't want to play no more. Now you got to pick, or I'm not going to play.
I think a large part of it is that this went on after Dwight left and a couple other places. He tries to ask for the ball or demand the ball almost every time down the court. He's not really a great. He's not a great. He doesn't have very good post moves, and he's not. He's a freak athlete, and he's average over 20 points a game for a few times, but he's not someone you feed the ball to constantly, especially later in his career. And Harden didn't want to feed him the ball constantly.
I agree.
I agree Harden was selfish in certain situations when he shouldn't have been, but I think it went back and forth, and they just decided to go in different direction. And then, yeah.
I don't know. I've said this for a couple years now. I've said when are we going to look at James Harden? We kind of did this year because he tried to sabotage a franchise. But it was like people just kept leaving and couldn't play with him, and we constantly blamed other people. It was like, oh, it's James or it's Dwight Howard's fault. Oh, Chris Paul is a jerk. Oh, but then it was like, oh, Russell Westbrook's his best friend, and then that didn't work either. And he's the one that lobbied the franchise to do it when Daryl Morey said, "Oh, Russell Westbrook doesn't fit the way we play basketball. He doesn't use analytics basketball. We don't. He can't shoot. This doesn't fit our system." And James Harden said, "Do it anyway," so they did it, and then it didn't work. I don't know. I just at some point I just felt like we had to look at him and be like, maybe James Harden is the issue here. Um, but then he has gone to Brooklyn and changed the way he plays basketball. But maybe all the shit in Houston humbled him a little bit. I don't know.
And we hope that he's learned over the time and plays differently. I mean, plays the same, but behaves differently over the next few years. And I think he's at a turning point where I think he can drastically change how he's viewed and what his legacy is.
Yeah. I also think in the role he's in right now with Brooklyn, obviously he's always going to score, but being the facilitator, I think, in some ways, and having two other dominant scorers. But this is just better for James Harden, I believe. He can run the offense, use his passing ability, still score when he has to, which I think is a better suited situation than Houston.
Well, think back to when he first started his career with the Thunder.
Mm-hmm.
And he came off the bench, but how well did they play when he came in and did those other things and did not have to be the alpha?
He would facilitate the offense.
Right, exactly. And he's gone back to that now.
Mm-hmm.
When Harden came off the bench, Westbrook moved to the 2.
Right.
Yeah.
And Harden handled the ball for the offense.
And they were unbelievable.
Yeah, and ran the second unit when Westbrook and Durant. Because at that point, Durant wasn't a great passer. And Westbrook, really wasn't either, even though he's the point guard. And
I'm not sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. But Westbrook has never been a great passer. Westbrook has never been that guy, like even Harden, like where he makes a pass and you're like, whoa, that was a nice pass. Westbrook just dumps the ball off to guys at the rim and they dunk it. And Westbrook has never been that guy or the nice pass Westbrook. It just makes a play and draws attention in the lane.
This whole game, I think he's just this crazy athlete we've never seen at that size. And this whole game is just forced almost.
Yes. Is that the right? Yeah,
I agree.
And rigid.
I agree, yeah.
Like he's not smooth at anything. Even when he drives to the basket and does like a nice like finger roll, it's like looks like shit. But it'll go in. You're just like, yeah, that like he forced that so hard, or his jumper doesn't look smooth.
Power basketball.
Yeah, his passes aren't super smooth. Like Alex said, that's just that's the way he's always been.
Well, I will say this though. I mean, maybe we said it in the Westbrook episode. I don't remember. But if Westbrook was 6'8", holy shit, what would he do to the league?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like, if he was built like LeBron, holy cow.
Yeah.
No, I agree with what you're saying, Wade. And I didn't see it when the trade was made. I mean, the Harden to Brooklyn trade. But I think this is the best version of what this Brooklyn threesome could be. Because I don't think either one of the other two, Kyrie or Durant, can be this level of distributor.
I agree.
They can both pass. They are both quality passers and can run an offense for you, but they can't get to this level that Harden is doing right now. And I don't think Harden is as good a pure scorer as either one of them. He's definitely not as good as Durant. But I think Kyrie, is just talking about pure scoring, is better at it than Harden as well. But I think the other key to this is, and Wade touched on it earlier, is if they use him like this, and then later on in the playoffs somewhere, something happens, foul trouble, an injury, whatever, and they need him to take over, he may have more energy to do so.
I agree completely.
I like this setup, even though I'm not a huge fan of the super team shit. It kind of irritates me, even though Kyrie's my guy and he's on this team. I like the way this team is formed. I think it fits better than a lot of other super teams we've seen. I think LeBron's super teams have been very forced at times, especially the Heat.
Yeah, that one.
LeBron, D Wade, and Bosh were not a good fit.
No.
They literally had to completely change the way Chris Bosh played to make him fit, and D Wade and LeBron never fit together well. They were more talented than everybody, but they weren't a good basketball fit.
Yeah.
Kyrie and LeBron fit better because Kyrie could shoot, but then they regulated Kevin Love to a corner 3-point shooter and
He-
would not give him the ball in the post.
I say he was double machine in Minnesota.
I will say that the Warriors turned into a very nice, fluent, dominant offense with their super team. Steph, Clay, and Durant still all got theirs, and it was a nice, fluid offense. I will say that they fit better, and I think a lot of people thought they would.
They did. I think they had a season where all three of them averaged 20, I believe.
Yeah, well, I mean, Steph and Durant were always up there, and then Clay was always flirted with the 20 points per game right there. But we're getting a little off.
I mean, so anyway, I don't have any more strong feelings. Do you want to do our closing arguments?
Yeah, that's fine.
So Ray, you want to hit us up with your closing statement?
Sure. Mine's a little different. I'm not going to do a closing argument. I want to ask a closing question.
Okay.
What all goes into the mathematical equation of a usage rate?
Oh, I can answer that. The usage rate is the amount of possessions that end with you. So it's either you having a turnover, you missing a shot, or making a shot.
And that's it.
That's it. That is your usage rate.
Huh.
Very interesting.
I thought there'd be a little bit more to it than just that.
I'm not gonna lie.
I thought too. I thought it was like 8 different stats combined.
I thought it was like how much you were like dribbling up the court and all that stuff. Not
Well, that's something else we didn't really touch on, and it's probably partially my fault. Is Harden's turnovers? I mean,
he did turn over a lot.
He has 3 of the 5 most turnover seasons ever. He has a season where he averaged almost 6 a game, 5.7.
When you had the highest usage rate ever, you're going to turn the ball over a little bit.
You're gonna have a lot of turnovers.
And if he continue now, again, I don't know what his turnovers are in Brooklyn. I have it in front of me. I should just look actually. In Brooklyn this year, he's only averaging he's averaging 4.1, so it's still a ridiculous amount of turnovers. If he continues at this rate, he's going to be the all-time turnover leader, and it's not even going to be close. Honestly, the all-time turnover guy very quickly is going to be LeBron.
Yeah.
But Harden's on pace to catch him. Westbrook was, but the last couple seasons he's slowed down quite a bit.
Well, again, LeBron's also zoning 17 years straight with the ball in his hands all the time.
Yeah.
You're going to turn the ball over a lot.
But, anyway. That's what usage rate is, Ray. Sorry.
All right, cool.
Got off on a tangent there. All right, Uncle Doug.
Well, again, I'm reserving judgment on Harden. I appreciate the case you guys made tonight. I've still seen enough of James that I'm skeptical, and I think that affected how I rated him. But I am open to listening and watching him play, and I'm looking forward to this year's playoffs to see with those 3 on the court what happens, and maybe a return to the Thunder now that there are better versions, and you replace Westbrook with Kyrie, and the Thunder were right there. it makes the Nets look very formidable. And if he can go back to playing like that, could be good.
I will say I'll give kudos. I liked you guys' argument today. Um, not that I'm trying to leave Drew out, but I really did like the AI thing. That was very clever. And I do think, like I said earlier, this season could play a huge role in Harden's legacy. Because first off, if they go get knocked out in the second round of the playoffs,
They're all going to look bad.
they're all
Not
gonna
just
look
Harden.
super bad. Or even if they, lose in the Eastern Conference Finals, really, it'll make them look bad. The only way they lose and don't look terrible is if they lose the Lakers in the finals.
Yeah. Or if
Um,
injuries like bad.
At this rate, Durant might not even play in the playoffs after
Yeah.
that.
As they say, all three of them are just one of them plays. And
injuries does seem to be the thing that would hold them back the most right now. But anyway, I will say this: Harden has impressed the shit out of me in Brooklyn, and if he continues to play this for a few seasons, there'll be no way you can keep him off your list. I don't think. And I will say that part of the reason, I probably left him off my list is how much I dislike him in his game. And the fouls and the flopping and the traveling and all that stuff, it really bothers me. So I will say that, yeah, that's my closing argument, I guess. I don't know who wants to go next, Wade or Drew, but yeah, go for it.
I will. I put James Harden on my list because, I'm not really a huge James Harden fan. All those years I was with the Rockets, I was rooting against him. Like I said with Dad, I was rooting for the Jazz against him. I was always rooting for the Warriors to beat him, but I think all the stuff he's accomplished and stuff, yes, he's not my favorite player, but I think he's still one of the best players to ever play the game, even with he's using the ball all the time. So, and now he's changing his ways, and great players can change their ways if they have to. As long as if he changes and he stays like this and he can win, I think he's gonna be one of the greatest players of all time.
Well, I just think pretty much just to be just flat out up front, he's better than Allen Iverson. So you can just take him off the goddamn list right now and put on James Harden. But as far as not even really just guards, I think a lot of all-time great players or Hall of Fame players that don't have championships. I think James Harden is near the top of that list. Not the top. He's not at the top, but he's near the top. I think he's in that mix of all-time great players that haven't quite gotten to the mountaintop yet, which maybe he changes in Brooklyn. He's set records, has MVPs, scoring titles, assist titles. I've heard people compare him on shows to he's the shooting guard version of Karl Malone. Astronomical stats, breaking records. Just the playoff success isn't quite there. But Karl Malone is looked at as one of the greatest power forwards ever. But that's my personal opinion on old James Harden.
All right, thank you guys. And I guess that leads us to our next segment, the trivia segment. Anybody got a question ready?
I can go.
All right, Willard.
Well, I've been doing a very similar style for a while now, and I'm going to keep it going. The Charlotte Hornets. Who is their all-time leader in rebounds?
These are tricky, Wade. What does the Charlotte Hornets franchise encompass?
Yeah, you got a franchise that's
Is it
changed.
New Orleans? Is it the Bobcats?
I believe New Orleans counts the Bobcats. I will double check so I don't give you a wrong answer.
I wouldn't think the Bobcats. No, I said that loud.
Well, who would the-
Count.
Well, they were the I gotta think here. The current Hornets
Or
used
the
to be the
Bobcats.
Bobcats,
Right.
so that has to include the Bobcats.
Okay.
But the current Hornets are not the old Hornets.
Right.
They
That's
are the
what I-
Pelicans.
Yeah.
Right. So the Hornets that like Mourning and Johnson played
Correct.
for are a different franchise.
Well, no, this counts. There are some older players on here from like the 90s. So
It
that,
does?
yes.
Okay, so
this
it's
goes
a
back to the original Hornets.
And the Bobcats are on here. There are some Bobcat players on here. So,
Okay.
yes.
The whole
Ordeal.
And you're asking for rebound leader, right?
Rebounds,
Oh,
correct.
God.
Sorry.
Who was on the Bobcats?
I didn't think about the whole them changing names. That's my bad. But
No,
yes.
I just wanted to know before I tried.
Which Hornets
Yes.
teams?
They did have some very good big men back in the day.
They have. All right, I have my answer.
I have an answer.
Yeah, I'm ready. All good it is. All right, show me.
Odin Campbell.
Alonzo Mourning.
Anthony Davis.
Larry Johnson.
It is Emeka Okafor.
I almost put Okafor.
I really did,
but I was
Bobcat.
like, I don't think he played there long
Motherfucking
enough.
Bobcat.
But I guess he did.
Yep.
Because Campbell seemed to be there for most of my childhood, so I was like, he'll have a bunch of rebounds. So nobody got that one correct.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
I got a question ready.
All right, let's go, Drew.
Who was the Rookie of the Year in 2007?
Ouch, man! I gotta figure out a year. Oh my goodness, that's hard. Well, I'll just say this out loud because it'll.
Give us a hint.
Dwight Howard was drafted in 05. So that would have been 2 years after Dwight, if that helps anybody. But I don't know. I really don't. This is going to be a stupid guess.
Oh, 2007. Okay.
Holy cow.
Oh
Okay.
my gosh.
I got a guess.
Oh, man. I'm struggling to even guess. Like,
I mean, I just thought of a player that I'm pretty sure won Rookie of the Year. It has to be somewhat in that time period. So,
all right, I'm going to guess, but I think I'm off on years.
I'm sure I'm off.
Everybody ready?
yep. We got
Tyreek Evans.
I said Westbrook.
Westbrook. Sorry.
I said Steph Curry.
said Brandon Roy.
You're right, Waits.
Whoa! Go away.
Wow, Brandon Roy. I ain't heard that name in forever.
He was a beast. His injuries ended that career. He was balling because him and Aldridge balled before Lillard got there.
That is true.
Yeah, I like Brandon Roy. I can that name.
He was
I did too. I really like Brandon Roy.
he was really good.
Yeah, he was impressive.
All right, who's got another question for us?
Want me to go?
Sure.
All right. 2009 draft.
Oh boy.
No, I'll make this a little easier for you. James Harden was number 3. Okay. Can you name the first 2? And just to throw a little bit out there, Steph Curry was number 7, and DeMar DeRozan was number 9.
Okay, so Harden was 3, and so we need
Right.
2 guys.
Yeah, 1 and 2.
What year did you say it was? 09?
2009.
Okay. I think I'm pretty positive I know who number 2 is, but I don't know who number 1 is. Damn it.
I would. Well, I'm not going to give you a hint.
Oh my god.
Wow, these are some tough questions, guys.
Draft ones are tough. I know.
I like it though, making us think.
I was wondering at the beginning of all this, how long, what kind of questions we would have. If they'd get easier as we go on, or if they'd get a lot tougher.
Probably tougher.
I think they've
So,
got.
as I can tell.
we were all getting 2 and 3 right episode at the beginning.
Now it's
now
like
we get
one
like
of
1 or
us.
2 points total over the episode.
Yeah.
So,
I
wow.
2009.
I'm just guessing random people.
All right, I think.
All right, I gotta guess.
All right, what do you guys got?
Anthony Bennett, Paul George.
Anthony Davis, Tariq Evans.
Griffin and the beat.
Not available.
Actually, Alex got it correct.
Oh my god. I knew the beat for sure. I couldn't think on who number 1 was, so I guessed a number 1 pick.
Good job, Alex.
Son of a bitch. All right, I'll go ahead with mine. Which of the following players is the son of Jimmy Walker? I'm gonna give you multiple choice. So you got what, a 25% chance of getting this.
All right.
All right, so the choices are Samaki Walker, Antoine Walker, Tony Dumas, and Jalen Rose.
I got mine.
I got mine.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah, I got one.
Rose.
Rose.
I said C.
I put Samaki.
It's Jalen Rose.
So Drew, you got it? Yeah. Me and Drew.
Wow, did not know that.
I knew Jalen Rose had a father, because he talks about it in one of the 30 for 30s.
And they got a snippet here. It says, an interesting story has always been Rose's relationship with his father. Never have known him too well. He has gone by his career rather than his personal life. So,
All right. Well, I guess that just leaves me, right? I'm the only one left.
Yeah.
All right. My question is, since we talked a lot about usage rate today, who is currently leading the NBA in usage rate? Like in the 2021 season.
I have a question. Like, does it count? Like, say they're injured. Does it count like what they have? Right. Currently, or is there like a certain amount of games that they have?
I assume that's a certain amount of games, but I
Yeah.
know this person has missed games.
I got mine.
I'm ready.
Hang on, I'm changing mine.
Everybody got it?
But
Go for it.
All right. We got
Trey Young.
Shit, I forgot about Trey.
Damian Lillard.
I also said Trae Young.
I said Lillard.
the correct answer is Luka Doncic.
Dang it!
Ooh.
I
was
almost I had Jokic on there because I heard today
Dang it.
his is super high.
I was thinking
For
Luca
being
or
a
Trey.
center.
I said I'll go with Trey.
And Trey Young is 7th.
Ooh, it went down a little bit.
Joel Embiid is 2nd.
Oh wow, is Jokic up there?
No, it's
Really?
Doncic, Embiid, Bradley Beal, Steph Curry, Donovan Mitchell, Devin Booker, Trey Young, Giannis, then Dame, John Wall, LeBron, Westbrook, Levine, Fox, Kyrie, Tatum, Zion, Jalen Brown, Paul George, and Vucevic. That's the top 25.
What was Vucevic's?
29.
Well, the stat I heard today said Jokic was like at 34. So that's what. Maybe they're talking about a certain period of time instead of the whole season.
Could be. I mean, I'm sure his usage rate is going to go up now that Murray's out.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Is that everybody?
That's everybody.
Yep.
And nobody got that correct, right?
I don't
No.
think so. No.
All right, so the standings are as follows.
Ray with 13, Alex with 21, Doug with 25, Drew with a point for the first time in a while, 26, and Wade has 30.
Woo!
So Wade has extended his lead today, and that will wrap up our episode on James Harden. Please join us next week for our episode on Walt Frazier, who will also be defended by the same two guys, I do believe anyway, Drew and Wade. That is correct. All right.
I think so.
Yeah, I know. I'm
Yep.
doing it.
So join us next week for the Walt Frazier episode, the point guard. And thanks for your listen to Sports the Nemo Way.